Last year, in July, I made a video about the British government's plan to introduce the thought police in schools as part of their program to make schools teach quote-unquote British values. Well, several months down the line, and it turns out that I was rather optimistic when I said that the policy is rather open to abuse as it can lead to the persecution of Christian children. It turns out that any whiff of any kind of non-leftist thought is fair game for persecution. Let's explore. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Freedom Alternative. Holding any opinion outside of the narrow ideological corridor in which the small minds of the teachers exist is now dangerous if you're a pupil in a British school. A 15-year-old boy found out that the hard way when the police was called on him by one of the many small-minded bigots that pollute the teachers' unions. The kid was looking at a website belonging to the UK Independence Party, a legitimate, legal, parliamentary political party which can swiftly be described as the non-conservative party of Great Britain. Whether you agree with UKIP's policies or not is of little importance. What is of high importance is that in less than 3 years, this kid will have the right to vote, and accessing the websites of legitimate and legal political parties is not, nor should it ever be, something wrong. On the contrary, I would argue that it's normal and, dare I say, normative for a society that is still trying to keep its traditional institutions. And yes, right-wing political parties are part of that, believe it or not. I know that's shocking for some people, but, it is what it is. When his father found out that the police was called for his son watching dubious content at school, his first reaction was to ask whether his son was watching porn. A normal reaction, if you ask me, because while lawmakers insist to keep porn illegal for under 18-year-olds, the reality is that teenage boys do watch porn and will continue to do so regardless of anyone else's opinion. When he found out that not only his son wasn't watching porn, but rather, again, completely legitimate and legal content, he also found out that the police will come to inspect his son's home computer because, you see, a citizen of Britain is watching content of a legitimate political party, and that's suspicious and at risk of radicalization under these new policies. This tirade of nonsense and progressive agitprop continued when it emerged that 2 months before this incident, the kid had also, and prepared to be shocked, looked at a video of the English Defence League featured on the BBC. This comes in addition to the police questioning the kid further and saying that it was not right for him to click on UKIP content or lean towards agreeing with some of UKIP's policies. So now the boy is on the police record as not quite acceptable, or maybe not quite halal. Mind you, the school in question is not at its first transgression of this kind. Last year, on a political education program, they held what they call mock elections, to get the pupils familiar with the electoral process. At that time, they also excluded the UK Independence Party from the options available because in their view, UKIP is, yeah, you guessed it, racist. More recently, last week that is, a child was taken into custody and his parents threatened with complete separation because the child had drawn his father cutting a cucumber. Back here in the normal world, we know that 4-year-old children sometimes mispronounce certain words. That makes us adults, well, smile a little bit and then move on with our lives. But in the abnormal world of the British schools, the 4-year-old referring to a cucumber as a cocker bum makes the teacher hear cooker bomb and refer the child to a re-education panel de-radicalization program. And the family, through legal torment and suspicious that they're raising a little terrorist. When the parents spoke up about this and questioned the teacher's methods of identifying extremism and whether it is appropriate to threaten the dismantlement of the family over such trivial nonsense, their response was, and I quote, "Your children might not be taken off you. You can prove yourself innocent." Really? So, because a dumb teacher hears a child mispronouncing a word and imagines it's something else, now the parents have to prove themselves as non-terrorists, otherwise their child will be taken away from them for good? If that's the case, then I might have also been overly optimistic when I said that Britain is only on a road towards totalitarianism. Certainly the school system has already arrived at the final totalitarian station, since not only these kinds of things happen, but they're rather normalized. While indeed only 19 children have been referred so far to the re-education camps, sorry, I mean the de-radicalization programs, I keep messing them around. But while only 19 children have been referred to this nonsense, much more than that have been harassed with contemptible bollocks like this. And no one seems to be bothered by the overreaching surveillance that the schools exercise, and parents only seem to speak up when things get really, really bad. And that's not good news. It shows that the parents either don't care or they generally lack principles, or at least the will to stand firm for them. You know, back in the days I was called an uncivilized reactionary barbarian. Just not so long ago, back in 2008, when I was campaigning against enhanced video surveillance in my country's schools, arguing that this does not reduce school violence, nor does it increase the level of discipline, but what it does is to increase the level of state intrusion and enhance the power of the teachers and school bureaucrats, which was, in my view at the time, already way too high. My campaign has inspired several pupils to start standing up to the surveillance bullies and also name and shame the pro-surveillance cucks. Fast forward 8 years down the line and the schools are quietly abandoning the surveillance expansionist programs as they slowly reach to the conclusion that, indeed, they do not improve discipline nor reduce school violence or bullying. Maybe such a principled campaign would be quite in order in Britain as well? Just saying. Principled campaign or not, it is preposterous in and of itself to have children persecuted over accessing perfectly legitimate and legal content, such as BBC videos and parliamentary political party websites, or for drawing men cutting cucumbers. I hope I don't need to argue why. You know, I may be wrong, but I dare to hope that there is still some common sense there to appeal to when making the case that these policies are fundamentally insane and that they don't prevent neither extremism nor radicalization. But what they do is facilitate the persecution of innocent children by ideological zealots that dominate the professorial class. And with that being said, thank you for watching and supporting this channel. See you soon on Freedom Alternative.